The whole letter? Yeah. Great, I said. How many weeks do I get? Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way, kid. Anything you want from Colossians. Oh, okay. So I go to Papa. They said, anything you want from Colossians. He says, what do you know about Colossians? Well, Paul wrote it to the church there to address some false teaching. No, Nance, no. What do you think when you hear Colossians? What's the first thing? First thing. Christ in you, the hope of glory. Start there, he said. And so we do. Colossians 1:27. Christ in you, the hope of glory. I believe it is this reality that Buechner was talking about when he said, Jesus made possible not just a new way of understanding it, but a new way of living it. He said, I am the Father, and the Father is in me. The words I say to you then are not just my own. Rather, the Father, living in me, who is carrying out his work. The Father gives me all these things to do and say. I do exactly what the Father has commanded me. I don't do a solitary thing on my own. I listen, then I decide. For I am not out to get my own way, only to carry out orders. So Jesus is making it very clear here what's going on. He has put the Father in charge of his life. Father's the boss. He calls the shots. Paul said it like this. Jesus had equal status with God, yet he set aside his deity to take on the status of servant. So we see Jesus living this supernatural, intimate relationship with the Father, always hearing him, always obeying. This is the life that Jesus models for us because it's the life he wants for us. Walk with me. Work with me. Watch how I do it. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me. You will learn to live freely and lightly. Get in the yoke with me, for I am about my Father's business, and I am willing to go over it line by line with anyone willing to listen. As the Father is in me, I am in him, and we will be in you. I am sending the Holy Spirit. He will live with you and be in you. Did you hear what Jesus is offering? Do we really understand what is being made available to us? The same supernatural reality that Jesus lived his life in is being offered to us. If anyone loves me, he will obey my teaching. The Father will love him, and we will come to him, and we will make our home in him. Guys, this is an unbelievable offer. The perfect trifecta of Father, Son, and Spirit is a supernatural reality in us. And you know why? It gets better. Joy. I have told you these things for a purpose, Jesus. My joy will be your joy. Your joy, wholly mature. Now, the joy Jesus talks about here isn't ha-ha, happiness, la-la. No, Jesus is talking about what Dallas Willard calls deep, prevailing sense of well-being that Jesus obviously lived his life in. I mean, the followers of Jesus saw a man live an anxiety-free, completely secure, utterly selfless life in God. I mean, this is the guy that faced down Satan. This is the guy that slept like a baby in a storm-tossed boat when everybody around him was screaming, "We're all going to die." This is the guy who walked through a crowd of people who held the stones in their hand to kill him. And another time, through another crowd who had dragged him to a cliff to throw him off. This is the Jesus who faced every adversary seen and unseen to take that hill called Calvary for us. It is this Jesus that taught Paul to say, perplexed, but not despairing, struck down, not destroyed. He's the one who taught Horatio Spafford to say, "It is well with us." Jesus was a man who trusted so much in the Father's plan for his life that his only desire was to carry it out down to the last detail. It is this joy, it is this same prevailing sense of well-being in the Father's love and care and plan and provision for us and our lives that Jesus wants us to have, so that we don't have to worry about us. Guys, we don't even have to think about us. And we can be totally free to just be with Jesus. And thereby glorify our Father who is in heaven. Here's the glory part. Jesus prayed. Father, I have glorified you on earth by accomplishing down to the last detail everything you assigned me to do. I give them, my followers, the glory you gave me. So we get in on this new way of living by doing what Jesus did. He put the Father in charge of him. We put Jesus in charge of us. Christ in me, in charge of me. Now, when I was a child, I spake as a child. One of my favorite spakings was, "You're not the boss on me." And that was the unfortunate truth of my life for many, many years. 14 of those years as a believer, and several, I am ashamed to admit, as a vocational minister. But on a dark, restless July night, Jesus challenged me to exchange my life for his life. He said, "Nancy, you are so much like my placeman and Martha. So busy, so anxious about so many things, when only a few things are necessary. Really, just one." And Mary chose that. She chose to keep company with me and learn to live freely, lightly. Sounds pretty good right now, doesn't it? I have to admit that it did. Sounded good enough to try. So I took stock of my life. I started breaking plates. Yay. Yeah. I started not working for Jesus to be with Jesus. I carved out time to practice being quiet, just getting still, so that I could listen. I started to journal, because that journaling kind of helped me get to that place of stillness and quiet that monkey mind and just get to that silence. I turned my van into a holy place. No CDs, no radios, nothing. I pictured Jesus sitting shotgun in a red flannel shirt. I still do. Only now he's in cotton. I mean, he and I, we were doing the Bluetooth thing long before it was ever possible. I disciplined myself to make every red light redirect my mind to Jesus. I started spending time with people who were already living this life, in books and in person. Sometimes I took a Jesus day from work, even if I could just get a half day, even if I had to get a babysitter. And I just practiced being present to Jesus every minute of that day. I did what Paul told the Colossians to do. Get rid of distractions, diversions. Shut off the technology. Shut it down. Anytime I could. If I had to wait for someone or something, I tried to turn it into worship. And guys, Jesus started showing up. Everywhere I was, all the places I lived. Jesus started teaching me in parking lots, the DMV, library, bathroom stall, shower, walking on the golf course, the sidelines of the soccer game, in conversations with people, everywhere. As I did anything and everything I could to be that sheep that Jesus talks about, hears his voice. And he knows. Slowly, like surely, he has transformed my life until it is less and less about me, and more about him. And you know those few necessary things? He tells me what they are. I find out what they are by doing the one necessary thing. Keep company with him. And here's something really cool. The few necessary things that he gives me to do, I have found out he has prepared and positioned me for. So remember that promise, I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you? It's true. It's true. So it's less and less about me and mine, and more about him and his joyous, God-glorifying life. Now God does and can use people all the time to glorify himself. He uses events, circumstances, movements, all different things to glorify himself. But you know, so many times we don't really know what he's doing. We aren't really aware of how he's using people, even ourselves. The fun, the joy, the real adventure of this new way of living is when he lets you in on what he is doing and he gives you a piece of it. Remember what he told the disciples in the upper room? No longer do I call you servants. Because a servant doesn't know what his master is up to. Servant just takes orders. They don't know why they're doing what they do. They don't have the context for what they're doing, what they do. But Jesus said, I call you friends. For I let you in on what I am doing. I'm willing to go over it line by line, letting I'm willing to listen. Let's take Lazarus and his sisters. Some real BFFs of Jesus. They didn't know that Jesus stayed away from healing Lazarus because God was setting the stage for himself and his son to be glorified when Jesus raised Lazarus. It was some very tough going until they understood what God was up to. And the incredible part, they got to play in it. Can you imagine? These people got a crash course in holy mature joy, guys. I mean, they went from joy being with Jesus, friend of Jesus, love Jesus, know Jesus, to boom, holy mature joy in a day. When Jesus turned Lazarus into the poster child for the hope of glory. Guys, can you imagine when they finally got Lazarus untied, cleaned up, and got that party started? Unbelievable, immeasurable joy. Guys, I would imagine it was enough joy for them to live their entire lives on. If someone had asked Lazarus afterwards, Laz, would you do it again? How could you have said anything other than, of course I'm doing anything for my friend Jesus. Do it again? Actually, I rather think I will. Only the next time I die, it's going to be really different. I would imagine this is the message that the sisters sent on that day. Dear friends, our brother Lazarus has died again. Please join us for a party celebrating his life. Not just the life he's lived with us, but the life he is living now. For we know he has walked again through the door of death and hears and sees again our dear friend and master, Jesus, whose own death and resurrection makes our party possible. There will be no professional mourner this time, only dancers. Led, of course, by our beloved sister Martha. Sign of the fish. P.S. Please bring a dish. Martha, as you know, rarely cooks anymore. Come on. You don't think those people live free and light after that? Oh, guys, this is the life. This is the life, and we can choose it. Jesus said, I listen, then I decide. And we do decide. Now, Jesus decided perfectly. He heard perfectly. He carried it out perfectly. Even when it was definitely hard. Remember the garden? No, we can't do it perfectly. Of course we can't. But that can't be the reason for not trying, for not going there. That can never be what stops us. Oh, sometimes I still say, too scary. Sometimes I've said, can you get back to me on it? Sometimes he does. Sometimes he doesn't. Spirit moves on, I miss it. Sometimes it's a little nudge. Sometimes it's a... Then the hands open and the voice of God says, really? You're really not going to go there with me? Okay. You're lost. And it is, oh gosh, it is so my loss. I so lose. Because we have lived and walked together long enough for him to show me the joy, the faith, the love, blessing, the miracle I miss when I choose natural Nancy over the new way of living. When I choose fear over freedom. When I choose heaviness over lightness. Oh, I so lose. I begin to understand a little bit of what Jesus is talking about when he says, if you lose your life, you're busy on the boss of your life. For my sake and the sake of my kingdom, you will find it. This new way of living. But if you hold on to your little natural life, you will lose it. The chance at this Jesus joy, God glorifying life that Christ in you wants for you. Many years ago, in a small Midwestern town, there lived a young telegraph operator. He would spend hours in front of the telegraph, learning to hear and accurately decipher all of the messages that came through, no matter how loud, no matter how soft, how fast or slow the messages came. His joy, his passion, his life was to be a telegraph operator. And he was a very good one. But the Great Depression cost him his job and his little town. So when he heard that there were jobs to be had in the city, his friends and his family scraped together all they could for months to send him there. After days and days of anxious searching, he finally heard of a job interview for a very large company on the top of one of the tallest buildings in the city. He was scared. But so hopeful when he walked into the room and it was filled with people actually working. He couldn't believe it. He hadn't seen that in months. Secretaries were typing. Clerks were filing. They were working the switchboard. There was a whole assembly line of people packing. Papers, people. It was a cacophony of busyness. He was overjoyed. His joy was dashed when he turned and he looked at the boss's door and saw 30 or 40 men standing outside to be interviewed for the job. Most of them were older. All of them were better dressed. Some even had leather bags and gold watches. He'd come this far, though. A lot of people were counting on him. So he had to see it through. Dejectedly, he went, found a spot on the floor, and sat down for a long wait. After a minute, he suddenly stood up, straightened his shabby suit, walked to the boss's door, opened it, and went in front of everyone else. A few of the guys looked at each other in wide-eyed amazement. A few others started laughing, but every one of them turned their gaze and fixed it on that door. Wait. And sure enough, a minute later, out walked the boss with the young man. And he said, "Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for coming. The job has been filled." They were stunned and immediately began protesting. "Well, I've been here since 6 a.m. You can't do this. This isn't fair. I'm 20 years older than this kid. You haven't even looked at boss, held up his hand and said, "Gentlemen, please, please, you'll understand. You just listen." No, you listen. I am not about to go back and face my family and tell them I never even got a shot at this. This isn't fair. You can't let it. He held up his hand again and said even louder this time, "Gentlemen, please, I ask you, listen." And one by one, they began to hear. In the far corner of that busy, noisy room was a telegraph typing out the message, "When you hear this, come in. The job is yours." Don't you want to hear the voice of Jesus above all the busy distractions and diversions and unnecessary things in your life and in this world? I do. I want the job. Because he's the boss of me. I want the joy down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. I want the joy down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart to stay. I want to hear the voice of Jesus tell me down in my heart. What? Down in my heart. What? Down in my heart. I want to hear the voice of Jesus tell me down in my heart. What? Telling what to do and say, when to go, when to stay, how to hear, what to see, how to love, how to be you, Jesus. For this is the life you want for us. For you said, I have come that you might have this life. You have it abundantly. It is a life of prevailing well-being with the Father. I want this so much for you. In fact, I'm dying to have it. So Papa, give us the courage to desire it, the discipline to pursue it, and the joy that it brings. For we must decrease, and you must increase. Bring it on. And all the people sin. Amen.
I believe the Father is on the edge of his seat waiting